First of all, thanks. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, but you can hear me now?
Yeah, I muted you.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time. I really appreciate you, under these circumstances, coming to join us for the State of the Department. It's a little unusual, obviously, but you know, I think it's important to continue reporting to you what we're doing and where we've been and where I hope we can go in the next year. So I'll start screen sharing here. And let's see, sound 2. So I hope people can see that. Excellent. So just a couple of words about the state of the department. This is a talk where I like to introduce new people and to tell them a little bit about who we are. I like to show pictures of people so that they might be recognized by newcomers. So some of this might be familiar to those of you who have come to talks in previous years. I repeat some stuff because I think it's important because I want people to hear it. I'll review some of the good things that happened in the past year and what I hope that we accomplish or begin to accomplish in the coming year. Now, I think it would be remiss if I did not say a little bit about what's going on out there outside of our campus and outside of the walls. I think it's important to acknowledge that our hearts and hopefully some of our resources are going out to people who have lost so much in recent days from fires and hurricanes and other disasters. You know, the country is also experiencing an historic reckoning around race, equality, opportunity, law enforcement. And then, you know, lest we forget, 180,000 lives in the US have been lost with the coronavirus pandemic. And those are just the ones that we've been able to document. Now, I frankly feel that our leadership, while well-intended, has not always been up to meeting the challenges posed by the pandemic. It took too long to restart regular research in the department and too long to decide the inevitable, which was that fall was going to be mostly online. And even then, there was a refusal to distinguish between circumstances for undergraduate students and those for graduate students, especially in the sciences. In making decisions, I think the administration is a little too prone to treat every unit and every department as though it were the same thing, to try and find some universal algorithm to apply across the board to deal with this situation. It's not possible, and often it's not constructive. In this context, with our building closed to the public, no face-to-face teaching, and no ability to gather in the usual way for talks and other discussion, we've got to figure out a way to continue to move forward, to do what we do best: think, teach, serve the community as physicists. I pledge to you that I will do everything I possibly can to enable you all to do that, including pointing out when necessary to the powers that be that we are like no other department at this university. At the end of the day, I think that there are reasons to be hopeful and optimistic, so long as, of course, we all keep wearing our masks and washing our hands. So the lobby of Webster Hall, when it is again open to the public, still contains displays put in place last year to celebrate the department's 100th anniversary and to honor some of the key faculty members who were great scientists, but also played a crucial role in building the department over the last 100 years. Paul Anderson was chair through the 30s, 40s, and 50s and oversaw the transformation of the department to one in which faculty were expected to conduct original research as well as to be excellent instructors. William Band could be considered the father of theoretical physics in the department and played a key role in bringing Webster Hall into being as a new facility for the physical sciences. And George Duvall, along with Band, was a key figure in the early study of dynamic compression physics at WSU, a legacy that continues today as the Institute for Shock Physics. Another way that we honored the 100th anniversary is we had some of our own. Our distinguished colloquium series included senior faculty from our own department, all of whom provided a unique perspective on the history and development of the department in the last 100 years, while also reviewing the rich scientific legacies that each has built over the past several decades. I was pleased that we were able to get all of these in before in-person colloquia were no longer permitted. It's unfortunate we had a couple of really good talks, I think, including one by Dave Wineland, Nobel laureate, that we had to cancel. But we had the opportunity to be surprised by the appearance of Paul Anderson's son, James, at Tom Dickinson's talk. That's a secret they managed to keep from everyone, including me. From Yogi Gupta, we heard the story of the genesis of shock physics from the days of George Duval and William Band through the present day, in which is still the premier academic center in the world for shock physics. And we learned about Phil Marston's incredible influence on the field of physical acoustics through the accomplishments of a great and still increasing number of his academic progeny. Here's one thing that we did that we should all be proud of. We hosted one of 13 regional conferences across North America for undergraduate women in physics. And I was very pleased at the department's support and the department participation in this. You know, many students report that this is a singular opportunity to network, to meet potential mentors, and to be inspired by the accomplishments of the scientists that come to speak and facilitate the various workshops and other activities. I want to thank the local organizing committee, especially Robin Stratton and Maren Mossman, who did a lot of the heavy lifting. We had about 125 participants. It was one of the last things that we could do that was kind of group communal all in one place before we started to have to not do those things anymore. I want to transition to something that I present every year to you as the foundation for what we all do here: vision, mission, and values. So I'll share with you that I tinker with my idea of the vision for our department a little bit every year. At some point, I guess maybe we should come to some consensus as a community about our vision. I would definitely welcome it. I just like to think about it. And this year I decided to add the highlighted bit: to cultivate that discipline with faculty and students that reflect the richness and diversity of our whole society. I hope that some of the steps we've taken in the last couple of years and are taking now amount to something that is more than just performative, that they reflect a real commitment to building a robust and inclusive academic community here. The department did basically agree on a mission statement back in 2009. It predates me, but it remains, I think, a very simple and profound expression of what we're about. We want to be at the forefront of research strategically focused for our institution. We want graduate training that combines in-class instruction with a world-class research experience, an innovative undergraduate education that includes a research experience, and educational, professional, and community service from all of our department members. And values. And of course, this is another thing that I say every year. I'm a values-driven leader. That's what I think about when I make decisions for the department on behalf of the department. My values are that students come first, always say hello to the custodian, and take the stairs. And I'll try to tell you a little bit about what I think those mean. So we're all teachers and we're all students. I love this definition of university, this Universitas Magistrorum et Scholarium, which comes from the Latin. Roughly translates as community of teachers and scholars. I can't state strongly enough that students are our charges while they are here. Graduates are what we produce as much or more as we produce research. Another way to rephrase part of our mission statement is to state simply that we make physicists and astronomers. Our reputation proceeds from what our students do in the world. It's a reflection on all of us, faculty, staff, students, as well as our other friends and supporters. So we live in a hierarchical society, including at the university. Denying that would be naive. But we can still live by the attitude that no one is above you, no one is below you. We all play our role in the mission in the department. We're all worthy of respect from one another. And then finally, take the stairs. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. This is especially important now when we're trying to carry out the various elements of our mission in the midst of a pandemic, where it's easy to feel or to become isolated. We have to be good colleagues to one another. I bid you to try your hardest to do this, especially in the coming year. So who are we as a department? Well, By the numbers, we're now 17 full-time tenure track faculty. That doesn't include the VP for research, who's Chris Keene, who's a physicist who is tenured in our department. And it doesn't include the one on the way. And I'll say more about Russell in a moment. He's somebody, a new faculty member that we have hired, just haven't quite gotten to Pullman yet. We have 6 full-time and 1 2/3 time career track faculty. That includes 2 faculty at Vancouver and 1 faculty member at the campus in Tri-Cities. 3 affiliate faculty in shock physics and at the Applied Sciences Laboratory in Spokane. 1 research associate, that's Mark Weber, and 5 full-time administrative and technical staff. I'll say more about those folks in a moment as well. 4 postdocs, 61 graduate students, and about 40 undergraduate majors. That's up from a year ago. Really, the way we count now is we're looking at the total of 109 students that are majors or are being advised in the department. This is what we look like statewide. And I like to mention that, in terms of our teaching and in terms of our research, we have efforts and we have connections that go beyond Webster Hall and even go beyond Pullman. So I'll mention, of course, Jim Horeliak, who's an affiliate faculty member and is over in shock physics, Cheatham Kapan, who's at Tri-Cities and also has a research effort at PNNL, Ergen Eilers and Jigang Yu, both do research at the Applied Sciences Laboratory. These are all opportunities for our students to do research. And Cheatham, as well as George and Jose, handle a lot of teaching duties at our campuses in Tri-Cities and Vancouver. So this is more numbers and more names. We graduated 11 PhD students last year and 12 Bachelors of Science. 2 of our Bachelors of Science, our BS graduates, are starting in the graduate program here this fall, David Morin and Courtney Cadenhead. And I've noted some next positions for some of our PhD graduates. So there's some industry positions in spectral energies, also government, Department of Homeland Security, Transport Security Lab, that's Thomas Badman. Of course, Ethan Kroll is now a postdoc with Peter Engels. He finished up last year as well. And there's an NRC postdoc, that's Thomas Farron, who finished up in Brian Collins' group. I'd like to get more information about what our graduates, grad and undergrad, are doing and report back to you in a more comprehensive way, but this is what I have at the moment. So trends in our undergraduate program, we're holding pretty steady, doing fairly well. We're down a little bit in the number of graduates we had in the last year to 12, and we're projected to have 12 more for this year. And the other bit of good news is that the enrollment in Physics 188, which is our introductory seminar course for first-year students, is 39 this fall, and that's a record. And so I ask all of you to reach out in the way that you engage our young students and help me to convince them that physics is a good path. We'd like to retain as many majors as possible, and that's always something that's important to us and a key part of our mission. Okay, so I'd like to make special mention of our new graduate students. There are 8 this year. Normally, I would ask them all to stand and give them applause, and that's not really terribly practical with this format. I'll just urge everyone to recognize who these students are and to welcome them warmly to the department. They generally come from all over the world. This year, because of the pandemic, all of our new students are from the US. However, we have 2 students, one from India and one from China, who accepted our offer of admission but deferred until next year. 8 to 10 is finally more toward the norm for our entering class after just 4 students 2 years ago, and then 17 we admitted last year. We seem to have come back to some sort of reasonable equilibrium. Our graduate program is the lifeblood of the department. And I think that graduate school in physics, more than getting a degree, more than being trained to do research, is a real calling. These are students that, with their undergraduate degrees could certainly be making more money than what they'll make in graduate school, but they're passionate about physics and passionate about doing research. And without them, our research groups could not possibly hope to succeed in the way that they do. So welcome to the new students, and I wish you the best of luck in moving forward with your program. Yes, we will applaud for our graduate students. Thanks, Guy. We have current postdoctoral fellows in the department. We have 4 right now. I mentioned Ethan Kroll, who graduated from Mark Kuzik's group with his PhD in the last year and stayed at WSU to work for Peter Engels. And Tom Bersano, who's completed his PhD with, also completed his PhD last year with Peter Engels and has stayed on as a postdoc. We also welcome Adnan Nalawi, who has joined my group after completing his PhD with Christoph Böhme at the University of Utah. And Terry McAfee continues as a postdoc in Brian Collins' group. He spends most of his time at Berkeley, so even if we were all gathering in Webster, we don't see him as much, but he continues to be active and to do good work for Brian. So this is our administrative and technical staff, and I'm always fond of saying that, you know, we are a lean group, but very, very strong. I couldn't do my job without this group, especially without Robin. You know, normally we would be a staff of 6, and this year we are probably not going to be able to hire that person because of the hiring freeze and because of sort of problems that we've had in the past. You know, the staff is small and getting smaller. I don't want it to get any smaller than this. Robin and Tom together now manage finances for tech services in addition to everything they do in the department. So this means that the burden falls more on the remaining staff, and I ask that you keep this in mind in your dealings with the staff this year. In particular, though, it is always good to remind yourself that they are here to help you and that they play a vital role in all of our ability to carry out the teaching, research, and service missions of the department. I just want to make special mention of Robin here. Last year, she was named a WSU Woman of Distinction for 2019 and 2020. And that's a pretty high honor. It's only 5 or 6 women across the university, all campuses. And so it was nice. I got a chance to go and deliver a little speech for her at the gathering. Again, I think that was really the last thing that we did in any sort of group before COVID. And I also want to recognize Robin for her 10-year service award this year, 10 years working at WSU. All right. So Tom Bush, I have notes here to mention various folks here. Tom Bush, who is invaluable in providing support for grants, grant writing, and grant stewardship to all our faculty. Laura Kruger and Tom Johnson, who are both now with WSU for more than 25 years. Laura handles purchasing and travel. Tom handles demos for all our labs. He also just kind of is the resident person to understand all the vagaries of Webster Hall and how to get around things without having to call facilities to get it done, which we all greatly appreciate. And finally, Jacob is continuing this year with the challenging task of revamping the content and approach in our undergraduate laboratory courses, obviously made more difficult by COVID. If there was any other type of course that I would prioritize for teaching face-to-face, it would be a lab course. But this is what we have, and Jacob is doing his best with those courses and with our TAs to deliver reasonable content online. I just want to point out, and just so again, so everybody's familiar, there's been some changes with our clubs. So Emily Mock right now is the interim president of the physics club, and we heard from Eli Gabrant earlier. I know he's around too, so you can talk to both of those if you're interested in the physics club, which is the undergraduate group. Robbie Robinson is heading up OSA SPIE, the graduate student group. And we have a new group this year that was actually part of the driving force for that was Maren Mossman. But Lauren Barmore is heading up the Physicists for Inclusion in Science, or PHYS. And I think they would welcome participation from everybody in the department, anybody who's interested in getting involved. Okay, so I want to get on to talk a little bit about highlights in the department from the last year and the coming year from our faculty and involving research that goes on in the department. First of all, and I can't wait to talk about this. I'm so excited. Those of you who know, I've been department chair for 3.5 years, and we've never hired any new faculty. And so I'm really excited because this year we hired 3 new faculty. And so I'm welcoming Vivian Baldassari, who I know is here somewhere, Anya Rasmussen, who I think is also here, and Russell, if he's here, is hardy because it's about 2 in the morning where he is. So I'm not sure whether he's joining us or not. But Vivian comes to us from Yale University, where she was an Einstein postdoctoral fellow. She's just been awarded a $109,000 grant to use the Chandra X-ray Observatory and Hubble Space Telescope to study a population of small galaxies with candidate active supermassive black holes. Russell will come to us most recently from the University of Hanover, where he was a Marie Curie Fellow. He does theoretical and computational work at the interface between AMO and condensed matter physics, including ultra-cold quantum gases, dilute quantum liquids, and supersolidity. He'll bolster our efforts to make WSU a leader in quantum science and technology in the Pacific Northwest. And I say he will come to us because it's not yet quite possible for him to finish securing his visa and for his family to travel to the US due to the pandemic. And so we hope that circumstances will change soon so that he may join us here in Pullman as soon as possible. Finally, Anya is a PhD graduate of our department who worked with Matt McCluskey in semiconductor physics, but who has always wanted to teach at the college level. And we're very thrilled to bring her aboard to join a superb core of career track faculty who principally teach. And so I think a round of applause for our new faculty. I'm so glad that you are aboard. Okay, let's see, move on here. And I want to acknowledge one of the CAS awards that was received this year for the College of Arts and Sciences. Excellence in Teaching by a Clinical Faculty Member was awarded to Fred Gittes. This is well-deserved. It's long overdue. Fred teaches up and down the ladder of undergraduate and graduate courses in our department. And anyone who has been to one of his superb department colloquia knows that he's always teaching us about the beauty in the great breadth of physics that he is interested in. In this citation was included this quote, which I love. He demonstrates that physicists see beauty in the world like artists, speak the language of the universe like mathematicians, and are driven toward mystery like curious detectives. And that was one of Fred's students who provided that quote. And congratulations, Fred. Very, very well deserved, long overdue. All right, yes. What else we got? I want to talk a little bit about Anya and about making teachers of physics. So this is Anya Rasmussen, our new career track faculty member. And I want to talk a little bit about Physics 150, which is a course that we've had for a while, Physics in Your World. But thanks to Anya's work with the School of Education, this will now be the pathway for education students that want to get certified for teaching science and math. She has developed online teaching and lab kits. You see pictures of those there to send to the students to support hands-on learning outcomes even while we're in the pandemic. We could see up to 120 students a year taking this course. And so this is really exciting. And Anya, in addition to teaching the course herself, was critical to sort of driving this and making this happen. And I'm very grateful. She's also won a grant, a Smith Teaching and Learning Grant. That's an intramural grant from WSU, and initiating a learning assistant program for undergraduates to facilitate learning in Physics 101. So she was the recipient of a 5K award in order to get that started. And as I understand, they had their first meeting today, the learning assistants, with Anya about that course. Okay. What else we got? From Michael Allen, real data from real telescopes. So the program continues our involvement in the Skynet robotic telescope network. This gives our students real telescope time on real telescopes. So majors and non-majors alike, they get to decide, what to look at, what to study. And there are even 3 undergrads doing thesis projects. This is particularly timely and relevant given the pandemic. Studying Cepheid variable stars, and I'm also, Michael gave me this picture of the supernova SN 2020 FQV in the galaxy NGC 4568, which was something that came out of the work done here using this network. So it's not a simulation. The students collect actual authentic data, and they prioritize their time and they think about what they want to study. It's a great way to really see the practice of science as it's done. All right. So moving on, I want to talk about, we had in the last year, so through the middle of this month, 1.65 million in new grants awarded, which is awesome. Many more grants are active right now or up for renewal this year. So I'm not listing all of the funding that the department has. So I also mentioned, of course, that Vivian Baldassare just received a new grant. I know that Guy Worthy has as well, and those will be coming into effect in the coming academic year. Here's the really cool bit of news. I mean, this is great, but I think this is really awesome too. The faculty in this department submitted $12 million in new proposals in the last year. And so, of course, there's no guarantee that we're going to get $12 million, but I'm just pleased and proud of the fact that, that so many grants have been submitted, that so many ideas are going out there. It shatters our previous record, which was set 10 years ago during the stimulus years of 10.23 million. Peter Engels and Michael Forbes submitted over half the money for those proposals. And so I guess they found something to do during COVID isolation as they wrote a bunch of grants, which is awesome. And of course, we're going to try again this year. Hopefully we'll succeed in getting an REU proposal to support research experience for undergraduates. And Brian Collins is working on that right now. So just fantastic. Keep up the good work. You can't win if you don't play. So I think it's awesome that that we've made these proposals. So I'll talk a little bit now as I get toward the end. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the research that's going on. I asked some of our faculty to provide me with information and some slides, and one thing I got actually this morning from Peter Engels was a tweet. And so I'm going to play for you a video if I can make this happen. And this is about ultra-cold atoms in space. And of course, that's something that both Peter and Michael work on. It's also something that Maren Mossman worked on when she was here. And I want to give her a shout out because she had a career at WSU, as most of you know, as an undergraduate, graduate student, and a postdoc, sort of a straight flush, and is now starting this fall as an assistant professor of physics at the University of San Diego. So just a student product that we are very, very proud of, who we are very proud of. The department is certainly going to feel a bit strange without her around, but we wish her the very best. You know, as faculty, I think we have a soft spot for those of our students who are crazy enough to take the same path that we have. I should mention that Maren was a key player in making QWIP go in January and was also a driving force behind the formation of FIZ, as I mentioned earlier. And by way of telling you about just one of the projects she and the Ultracold Atoms group are involved in, I'd like to share this recently tweeted video from JPL. So let's see if I can make this actually work.
The Cold Atom Laboratory is in many ways the coolest thing and the coldest thing we've ever done on the International Space Station. It is allowing us to investigate cold quantum gases and make breakthroughs in areas of physics that up until now have been unavailable to us.
NASA built the International Space Station to do the kind of research that we're doing in the Cold Atom Lab. This is the first time we're able to study this fifth state of matter in space.
Bose-Einstein condensation is an amazing feat of engineering in itself, but this type of physics is difficult to do in ground-based experiments, and so doing this in microgravity is going to allow us to really see what's going on. So you have something cool, how do you make it cooler? You put it in space.
Our ability to study cold atoms is really going to advance our knowledge in areas that will help us in quantum computing, quantum communications, and learn even more about gravity and how it interacts in our universe.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So that's ultra cold atoms in space. And I'm still on. Okay, good. I got this from, let's see. There we go. I got this from Yigu. So memristors, that's a new word that I learned from having him send me this slide. These are basically solid state devices that mimic synaptic brain function. And so this work is about the study of ferroelectric memristors that feature multi-directional switching and reveal new device physics. So that's kind of what's been going on in Yigu's lab. I received this from Phil Marston. So this is about acoustic vortex beams in physical acoustics. They have important potential applications in areas such as underwater communications, imaging, and information transmission. And here, Phil's group has experimentally validated theoretical predictions concerning the phase and amplitude evolution of the backscattering of these acoustic vortex beams via sphere. Okay, and that just came out in the reference here. And then also, those of you who know Mark Kuzik know that in addition to a world-class research effort in nonlinear optics, he's constantly tinkering and innovating and teaching. And here he and an undergrad in mathematics used cell phone videos to collect data on collisions, momentum, and energy conservation and the work energy theorem. Now, some of you may recognize that pool table because it's the one in my house. And there happens to be a balcony above it from which one can take nice overhead pictures. And so Mark got the idea during one of our house parties, which alas are on hold for now due to the pandemic. But I promise to make up for lost time when we can finally gather again as a group. So anyway, this studies conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, just with frame-by-frame videos of billiard balls running around the pool table, and this is to be published shortly in the American Journal of Physics. Okay, so I'll point out here we have some temporary farewells, sabbaticals, and other leaves. So Yigu will be taking a sabbatical for the full year this year, and I think he plans, if I'm right, I think he plans to spend some of that time at PNNL with connections there. Gary Collins will be taking a sabbatical in the spring semester only. All I can say is that I hope their passports will allow them to travel beyond the US-Canadian border at some point, should that be necessary. I mean, I know that Gary had plans to travel to Germany. We'll have to see how that develops as we get closer to that spring semester. Sukant Bose, who left before the pandemic, continues his leave in Pune, India, where he has taken multiple leadership roles in the LIGO India project, which hopes to see first light by 2024. I guess actually it's first graviton or something like that. I want to say that, Sukkant is, has shown tremendous dedication to LIGO science and has given up a lot. We've missed him, of course. We'd rather he were here in Pullman, but he's given up a lot and has really, including, leaving his family here in Pullman while he does this work in India in order to get Indigo, LIGO India off the ground. So we hope to see him back, I think, at the end of next year, by the end of next calendar year. And finally, I just want to remember one more time someone that we lost this year. We lost an insatiably curious and innovative mind, a teacher, a mentor, colleague, and a friend this past January. Kelvin Lin had just started phased retirement from WSU. He was the longtime director of the Institute for Materials Research. We had the opportunity to celebrate Kelvin's life with a memorial service at the Floyd Cultural Center, and then with a colloquium on Kelvin's scientific work and legacy from our own Mark Weber, who started out as Kelvin's graduate student and has stayed with the research group pretty much ever since. So may Kelvin's memory be a blessing to all of us. So that's it. I thank you for your attention. I'll just remind you once again, I'm a values-driven leader. I expect to hold you all accountable, but especially for you to hold me accountable for acting from our values as a department. That's what we should do. The job of any leader, I really believe this, is to serve the community they lead. I take this service very seriously, and feedback is always welcome. You can't offend me. I know we don't do everything perfectly. Sometimes we don't do everything even right. And in order to fix it, I need to know about it. So I'll just tell you that I have a chair's office hour. This semester, it's going to be Wednesdays from 4 to 5 p.m. That's students only. And of course, we've got a Zoom link for it this semester. There's the meeting ID and passcode. Robin has that information as well. There will be graduate student town halls this year. They will be advertised. We'll do them by Zoom, of course. And you can always email me. If you can't make the office hour and want to make an appointment through Robin to see me, I'm happy to accommodate that. So I hope I've convinced you that, despite our challenges, we have several, no question about it, with what's going on around us, that there's some reason for optimism, there's some reason for hope, and there's some things that are moving forward. Our building will be closed, but we will be doing research in the building. We will have people, here moving, doing things, and hopefully, if we can all continue to stay safe, we'll be able to keep that going. And I look forward to assisting all of you in doing all of the things, all the amazing things that you do in helping us to meet our mission. And with that, I'll close and I'll say thank you again. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them.
And I just unmuted everybody, so you can chime in and whatever, ask questions of Dr. Saam. Thanks for that update. That was really informative and uplifting, actually, is what I would say.
Well, thanks. I know it started a little dark, but
Yeah.
I actually kind of think that's appropriate. I mean, we've got some darkness that we're coping with, but I also think that there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. I mean, this is what we do. We make physicists, and I think this is going to be challenging, but we're going to make more physicists and make more physics. I'm just catching up on the group chat. So are there any questions, general, specific otherwise? I kind of believe I'm going to get a few as we go through the semester. I know Robin will tell you that she's already getting them from undergraduates. So. No?
We might not be able to speak right now because people can't unmute themselves.
Oh, they can't?
We have to wait until the host does. Somehow the settings are like that.
Oh, did you hear that guy?
He hears it.
Oh, okay.
I think he's trying to figure out how to do it.
Oh, he's trying to figure, okay.
Hey, I'm unmuted.
All right. You got clicked twice, apparently. I don't know.
I should have mentioned that, you know, speaking of Anya Rasmussen, she's also the person, she's a very good resource for figuring out how all this technology works, especially for teaching. Oh, come on, you're the millennial. You got to know all this stuff.
You're muted.
Yeah, I think once you mute yourself, you can't unmute. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
okay,
what happens.
now I can talk. Thanks, Guy. I was going to say your grad students might be a better source. They're younger and have had technology in their lives, maybe their entire lives, opposed to my somewhat later introduction.
I think the way to view it is we've had technology our whole life. It's just a bit different now.
Oh, right. Sorry, that's not, yeah, I'm sorry. That was an inappropriate way to phrase that. Mars and I remember this one class period where you were just really surprised that none of us in our graduate level E&M class had ever built our own radios before. And we were kind of like, well, yeah, we could just go to the store.
So my comment on that is it's a cultural change. I grew up in the era where there was tons of World War II surplus. So my dad would take me down to a store in Seattle and I'd buy stuff, bring it home, take it apart and build things. And you can't do that anymore because you can't take anything apart and pull the parts out and do anything with. So it's
just super expensive.
Yeah, so it's educationally, you have to deal with things in a different way, and it's somewhat unfortunate. I just realized how totally privileged it was, in some sense, for my generation.
I remember getting grounded for taking apart a lamp in the living room.
I remember that I had a classmate in high school that had a 1968 Dodge Coronet with a straight six. And the engine compartment was so big that you could stand in it. You could literally straddle the struts and work on the engine while standing inside the compartment. But you know, now if you don't have the computer diagnostic thing to plug in, then you're in bad shape.
I just want to say that when I was in undergrad at WSU taking electronics class with Yigu, I totally took apart a blender and then put it back together to figure out how it worked. And I still use that blender for margaritas. So.
You're saying I shouldn't have taken out the project component at the end of that class. Huh? Get in.
So we need a really good idea for a virtual coffee hour for Zoom. I mean, this kind of works, but it's the big thing is we can't break out into, you know, smaller private discussions. I have a few ideas if anyone is interested in this, or if anyone has
House
development.
Party?
A which?
I think there's an app called House Party.
Okay.
Or something like that, where you can select which rooms to go talk to people in.
So there's things to do this with virtual avatars, but they all use these completely animated, so you don't get facial expressions or anything. So I'm trying to find something that works with actual video, but the same idea where we're in a virtual room and you can move around.
I was gonna say, I know if we made like a department Teams, we could just make a bunch of channels and then people could hop around in the channels, joining whatever video sessions going on there.
Okay.
Teams is, we're learning it.
I can't run Teams because my computer gets so hot that it shuts down.
Oh no.
The winter it'll be fine.
Says the guy who does these complex simulations that surely must take much more in the way of computer power than Teams. No?
No, not on my laptop. That's why we have clusters.
Ah, yes. So let me just say, because I do see there's a comment in here from Islam. Thank you, about the issue of diversity, not usually discussed in the State of the Department updates, and you know, of course, this is you know, open for discussion at this point if you wish. You know, it's something that all I can tell you is that I take it very seriously. I think we have made some positive steps. I guess I'm very conscious, self-conscious almost of appearing too performative in this. I want these steps to be something that is really, you know, that are really concrete and that lead to something that lasts in our department, where we really recognize that we do, you know, we can always improve. We can always make ourselves more inclusive. And, you know, I don't think we can be, you know, complacent or just say that, you know, okay, so we hired, you know, 2 women faculty members this year. That's awesome. You know, now we're good. I think it's more of an attitude, and we have to keep at it. You know, it's a big world out there. There's lots of different people. I think, you know, that there are lots of different people that can be physicists, that can be, you know, somehow engaged in the kinds of things that we do. And all I can say is that I would like very much for the group of us to look more like the society that we're in the middle of, that we're in the midst of. Other questions, comments? It's just like in 17. No,
the faculty are supposed to be quiet so the students can ask questions.
And I also understand this is new for people, and it's intrinsically a little awkward. So I understand that too.
Yeah, it's clunky. It's clunky. Hey, Cheatham, I see you. Hi there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see you. We had some people join in too, which is it's really great. I was glad. Thank you. He may have already left. I'm not sure, but I was glad to see that the dean came by to see the talk, which was nice. And maybe he missed the first part about my comments about leadership in the university. I don't know, but that's okay. I think he understands, and he's a big boy, as am I. You know, we all have our blind spots. We all have places where we don't meet our own expectations or the expectations of others in our roles as leaders. And that's why I say I think it's really important for you all to hold me to account and to remind me when, you know, when things aren't going well, or when there's a problem, or when there's just something that we can change to make things better. And you know, it's going to be an interesting year. That's all I can say.
Hey, somebody asked about Colloquium. Yeah, we have a Colloquia every Thursday, and we'll start with a social time at 3:10. And I know not everybody can make it, but if you can make it, we're just going to have chat until 4:10 when the Colloquium begins, and then we can linger later. Maren says she has a question.
Yes, Maren.
Oh, I can unmute myself now. I wasn't allowed to unmute myself before.
Oh, okay.
So a couple years ago, the department decided, there was an executive decision made that the GRE scores for physics subject tests should be included in the applications, that it is now a requirement for people who are applying to WSU grad school to submit a physics GRE score.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you've seen some difference in the students that we've been getting, or in a decline in number of applications in general after this decision was made.
So,
and why we made that decision in the first place, because honestly, it doesn't predict anything. Kuz, I don't want you to say anything. You're not right about this. Kuz has a theory, and I do not believe it.
So, you know, this, yeah. Some of this trend predates me. You know, I do think that the latter of the two things that you mentioned definitely happened. So we saw applications drop off like a rock when we had the requirement. In fact, it caused us really to lift that requirement, as we realized that a lot of students just simply weren't going to apply to WSU if that was a requirement. I think right now we've suspended the requirement at least for this year, and I think the reasoning, at least on the surface, is that we've done so due to COVID, because a lot of people don't have access or easy access to taking the test. And that goes for not just the subject test, but the regular GRE. But I think it has to be something that the faculty takes up in the next year and tries to figure out, you know, where we're going to go from here. And I know that's probably not the best answer in the world, but what I have to allow for is the fact that I think we do have to have that discussion. Definitely what happened is we saw a lot fewer applications.
Do we have any feedback yet on the comprehensives from this semester?
Feedback, you mean?
As in the people who took it, or whoever was grading it?
No, not yet. I think it's best to, we have, the faculty will meet next week. The orals aren't finished yet, and the faculty will meet next week to make decisions. And I think it's best to leave it there until that's completed.
All right.
Okay, Maren. See you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Tomatoes.
Can you hear me, Dr. Saam?
Yes, I just don't know who it is.
It's Robbie, I'm sorry.
Oh, hey, Robbie.
I just wanted to make sure the Zoom information for the colloquium will be the same each week, right? Or will it be sent out before every meeting?
It's Robin. It's all the same. Every week is the same, and it will be on every single announcement.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick thank you to Guy and Peter for working hard to put together a colloquium schedule for this semester, because it wasn't easy, and you know, everything's obviously going to be done remotely. So I'm glad we're going to be able to get to do that and to still get some to sort of influence and hear from what's going on in physics in the outside world. Anything else? I see people are dropping out. I think it's probably a reasonable time to close, if that's okay with you, Guy.
That's okay with me. It's nice
Okay.
to see everybody, and we'll do this every week, every Thursday.
Every Thursday, and again, I wish everybody, you know, all the best. Good luck in the coming semester. I know there are going to be challenges. I'll try to keep my door as open as I possibly can. Please let me know how things are going. Please certainly let me know how I or the department can best support you in what you're doing. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we chat it?